everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Girl Inside. I am your host, Hannah Darkling, and this is a podcast all about living inside your own brain forever. Because there's no escape from being who you are. Quote from my favourite movie. Well, I wouldn't say it's my favourite movie. My favourite quote from a movie. That's much more correct a statement. From I Heart Huckabees, which is How Am I Not Myself? It's true. How am I not myself? And the French existentialists in that movie, it gave me a lot of things to think about when I was 16, 17. And now that I'm 31, I'm not interested in thinking about existentialism. Let's just step away from that ledge. Oh no, you can hear the ice in my glass tinkling lightly. I intentionally used a paper straw in my bubble tea instead of a metal one because I didn't want it to clink, but then I put ice in the glass. And so did it matter? Probably not. I am drinking an at-home bubble tea because I was going to say subscribed to a bubble tea club. You can do that, but that's not what I did. You can also just buy ingredients from their website. I think it is just called thebubbleteaclub.com.au. I don't really know exactly, but if you Google that, I'm sure something relevant will come up. And you can just buy like your flavored syrup and tea bags and your pearls and your jellies and just DIY that shit at home, which is really something to be excited about at the moment because I don't think there's that much out there to be that excited about, except for that. You know what I've realized I need is I need one of those like over armchair tables that swivels so that I can put this microphone like on a swivel and I can just sit back. I'm like leaning back in my armchair now. And it would be really awesome if I didn't have to yell for you to hear me. But like, I was about to say my back hurts, but I think my back hurts simply because I've been sitting down a lot. But when I sit on the couch, I kind of like, I put my legs out on a footstool and I kind of slide down a bit, which is why I've taken to sitting cross-legged in chairs and on couches because it helps me actually just stay sitting up straight. Which is really what I need. I'm having real issues with these headphones today. It's like my hair is itchy on my face. I don't know. Really having an issue with where they're sitting on my head, partly because I've got a half ponytail today. And that's because the half ponytail has become my COVID hairstyle of choice. I didn't ever think that I would be wearing so much half pony just in my life always, but I've really enjoyed having the hair off my face, but also having my hair out. Because I feel like I look like a potato if I tie all of my hair back, if I don't like make it messy and pull strands out. So I like having some of it out. But also the mask I've been wearing. So everybody's kind of wearing those disposable blue masks, of which, if you are using them, cut the loops, the ear loops, if you are throwing them in the bin, which you should be after every single use because they are disposable and they're like $1 each, so throw them away and buy a new one. Cut the ear loops because they can get tangled in wildlife in the dump. I've seen that. It's a little bit like individuals aren't doing the most to ruin the climate, but let's still take responsibility individually and do what we can to not harm even further after what the corporations have done. So cut the loops when you chuck them in the bin. I didn't know about it, so I didn't do it the first like 3 I wore, but now I'm doing it. But I'm actually not wearing them that much. Those blue disposable ones that have the ear loops, I'm actually wearing a reusable linen one that I got from like, I don't know, Urban Outfitters online or something, a Click Frenzy discount, I don't know. I'm always online shopping, you know, women be shopping, and I am a woman and I be shopping. Because what else is going to fill the void in my heart right now? But I've got one that's reusable and it ties at the base of my neck, like under my hair and then around my head. I think I probably could tie it into ear holes, but then I'll have like really long strings kind of like dripping down from behind my ears, and that's not the look. And I also don't think it would hold on properly. But because I have to tie strings like halfway up my head, I've honestly found that the best way to do that is to have a half ponytail, because I want to tie it really high so it's taut across my face and just really holding all of my breath in and keeping everyone else's breath out. But then it wants to slip down if my hair is like out, and also I look like an idiot. So I've just taken to half pony, guys. Who knew that the the hairstyle of 7th grade will also be the hairstyle of me at 31 for like a full 6 months? That's all I'm doing. But now I've got these headphones on. They can't, it's exactly where I want them to sit on my head, where my half pony is sitting. So I'm trying to like pull it forward, which is just going to make me look like a unicorn. So speaking of COVID hairstyles, I've been watching a lot of Brad Mondo on YouTube, who is couple of million subscribered, as in like subscribers, but like past tense. I don't know what was going on in my brain there. He is a hairdresser who reacts to like hair fails on YouTube. And I've been watching a lot of his videos. He also does like instructional videos, and specifically during self-iso and lockdown and COVID and whatever we're calling this time, because at this point, it's kind of different in each country, and quarantine and lockdown and self-isolation are all kind of different things, and every country is doing something kind of different. So during this whole COVID pandemic, he has been doing helpful videos on like how to dye your hair at home, because I know everyone's going to do it. So here's how you do it correctly. And I watched a lot of them, and I decided I was going to dye my hair at home. The algorithm knew something about me that I didn't yet know about myself. And so I did buy hair dye. I bought box blonde dye because I couldn't figure out the correct bleach to use. And Brad Mondo is always like, don't use box blonde. Use a proper like developer and bleach powder. And I'm like, I don't care. I'll do what I want. But also I think some of the box colors that are blondes aren't dye and are just toner, whereas the one I got, aren't bleach and are toner. I don't even know, man. Why am I explaining this to you? If you want to know, go watch the Brad Mondo video. I think I did buy the right one, despite him saying don't buy those. I think I did the right thing. But classic Hannah, always going to think I'm the smartest person in the room. And then I also bought like semi-permanent bright colors to go over it, because God knows me, I'm not just going to dye my hair blonde. I'm going to dye it like bright pink and orange, obviously. But then I had a nightmare about it. I had a nightmare that my hair would go that like disgusting brassy orange that it goes when you dye it blonde and you have residual red hair dye in your hair, which I think I might. Because when I started this podcast, I think my hair was purple. I don't even remember. But I know the icon for this podcast is me with pink hair. And that was definitely relevant to hair that I had either when I started recording the podcast or when I was making the images for it. That was me. I had pink hair, but then it just washed out and grew out, and now I just have dark brown hair. Of course, I'm going to try to go back to pink, but doing it myself is very scary. I have dyed my hair at home almost all years of my life. I box dye my hair at least once a year in either a semi-permanent or a permanent color. And let me tell you, it's never once gone well, you know? And by that, I mean, sometimes my hair looks really good, but the bathroom is a bomb site. And sometimes the bathroom looks really good, but my hair is really patchy. Or it's like I used a bad brand and it washed out really quickly. I don't think it's ever gone well enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that again. So I'm at a point now where I'm like, oh, I just want to pay a professional to do it. Like, if I know it's very expensive and getting your hair dyed is like, sometimes I come out of there like $400 poorer, and you're like, what did you possibly freaking do? But then also for the next 3 months, I feel like hot shit. So I'm like, I'll pay $400, basically like $100 a month, just for me to feel like the hottest version of myself ever. Of course I will. Why wouldn't you? And then for quite a few years, I just haven't been able to afford that at all. And I'm like, I want to go. I want to give you all of my money just so I can feel sexy, please. I just don't like that they massage your hair. And also, at the moment, COVID, so obviously I'm not going to go. What I want is for a professional to do it, but also that's very irresponsible, so I'm not going to do that. And instead, I'm going to DIY that shit. But I just got scared. I did have a nightmare that all my hair fell out because I left the bleach in for too long. And then my mum has offered to help me because I don't think I'm going to be able to do it myself, but I think that's going to be a very stressful event for both of us, because both of us are control freaks and think we know better. But it's my hair at the end of the day. So I'm like, well, even if I'm wrong, I should get to tell you exactly what to do. That way, if it is wrong, it's my fault for telling you the wrong thing. Because if you do the wrong thing, because you think that's what's correct, and I like trust you and let you, and you do it wrong, I will hate you. And we have to be in this house together for the rest of COVID. So like, let's not create that scenario. So even if I'm wrong, I would rather be wrong and tell you to do it wrong, but then it's my fault. And I can only be angry at myself. And like, I already hate myself. So isn't that better? Isn't that better than the other thing? I don't know if it's possible to tell from my voice, but I have a very sore throat and I have a dripping nose, and every time I go to sleep, my nose is dripping. And today is Tuesday. Is that real? Is time real? I don't know. And on Sunday, all day, very dry cough, really terrified. Went and got COVID tested yesterday because I was like, look, I don't think I've got it because I haven't really been leaving the house, but I've left the house just enough that I'm like, I don't know, I could have. Like, I've been to Woolworths now the last 2.5, 3 weeks. I've really been like, okay, well, if I wear a mask and if I've got hand sanitizer and if I've got disinfectant wipes and, you know, I can do it. Because the numbers in New South Wales are quite low. Well, I mean, relatively compared to Victoria and compared to other countries. And you just kind of go, okay, like, if I'm keeping my social distance and I'm not out of the house for too long and I'm not hanging out with people, like I'm just running errands, I'm going to the shops to buy like a USB converter cable and like shit that I need that I could definitely order online, but like, you know, like I may as well low level reintegrate into society while I'm feeling not anxious to do it. So the past 2 or 3 weeks I've been doing that. And then of course I come down with a cough and I'm like, oh my God, what the absolute heck? I got COVID tested. It is negative. I think you guys knew that it was negative, because if it was positive, like I probably would have said that much earlier on and I would be talking about this in a very different tone of voice. So like no spoilers, obviously it's negative, which was great, but it was like a 12-hour turnaround, which was awesome. Everybody says that it really hurts to get the nasal swab. I personally didn't find that it really hurt. Like I understand what they're saying. It was like uncomfortable, I guess, but I wouldn't call it uncomfortable pain-wise. I would call it uncomfortable in like you need to sneeze, but you can't sneeze. And that's like less painful and more just, yeah, like frustration, uncomfortableness. But yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I went through a drive-through clinic. The people were completely covered up. They were like double gloving. So they have one pair of gloves on all day and they put a second one on for each patient and individually change the second pair of gloves. The like trash bag of disposable things that they had was so full. It took less than half an hour and that trash bag filled up. So many people went through it. Like we got there and we were like, why is there no queue? And then they were like, go down the street and turn around and come back up the other way because the queue is going like all the way down the road. And we were like, oh gosh. And then we thought we'd be there for ages because obviously I made my mummy take me because I was like, Mummy, I'm scared of the COVIDs. Please come. And she's a health worker. So I was like, she can kind of like explain to me what's happening and try to make me feel better about what's going on. Don't know if that really worked, but at least attempt it. So we went and did that, and it was actually much quicker than we thought, considering how many cars were there. It was less than half an hour from arriving, probably 15, 20 minutes waiting in the queue, and then, yeah, like 5 minutes once we kind of got to the actual drive-through area, which we actually parked. we park, and then they come to your window, and then you, like, turn your car back on and reverse out and go. It's like, it's not quite a drive-through, but I guess I can fit more people that way, rather than just, like, a queue of 3 or 4 cars. It's like, the area that you would queue in is where cars maneuver, and there's actually like 10 or 12 cars parked. So I guess it's better. But it's just not what I expected at all. Like when they say drive-through, I really thought it was like Macca's window. It's the only frame of reference I've got, okay? It's chicken nuggets. I just compare everything in my life to chicken nuggets, and that will have to be okay. But I was very anxious about it. I like posted to Instagram stories and I was like, haha, got a dry cough, getting tested tomorrow, like lol, feeling COVID-alicious or some stupid thing. And like nobody responded. And I was like, guys, I need you to tell me that I'm going to be okay. Like this is a cry for help. If you've learned anything about me and the way that I engage with Instagram stories, it's that it's always a cry for help. I don't post on there when I'm feeling okay. Like I need validation right now. Please respond. So yeah, that's my story about getting COVID tested. It's not really a story. Like I went and got tested. It was fine. I came home. We came straight home and I isolated from that afternoon. And then I got at midnight, or it was like 12:30 in the morning. So like less than 12 hours after I'd gotten tested, I got a text message saying you're negative. And I was like, okay, cool beans. I can literally go to sleep now. Because I think that's part of maybe why I wasn't sleeping, other than my schedule is fucked and I'm not going to sleep until at least 2 p.m. every day, and most nights 4 p.m. 4 a.m. 2 a.m. Time means nothing. Oh, I feel that at the moment, that time kind of means nothing. It's like, fuck, how is it August? And I think that like every month of every year, like, oh my God, how's it the end of the year already? How's it already June? Oh my God, how's it December? How's it Christmas already? How's my birthday already? That's every year. That happens all the time. But certainly this year it has really felt like nothing has happened all year. And there was a point where I was like, yeah, I'm going to spend like a few weeks on the couch just kind of chilling out. And like COVID has given us an excuse to sort of not be productive and yeah, working from home. But that thing that got shared a lot that I agree with, which is like, you're not working from home. You are at home surviving a pandemic, doing what you can for your job. Like, which kind of comes from a place of privilege, really, to say that. And people who said that, I remember looking at that being like, yeah, except half of the people in the workforce aren't working from home. Some people have, like a lot of people have been laid off. The people that do still have jobs, office jobs, and can work from home, their bosses still definitely expect them to be outputting the exact same amount. So like, yeah, you can say that to yourself for positivity, but like, that's not real. But for my job, it certainly was, because I work for myself. I'm a freelancer and I can take on as much or as little work as I want to. And then there's a point in quarantine where no one had any money to pay me to be a freelancer. So then I wasn't doing anything. But it was nice to sit around the house and be unproductive for a few weeks. And then that actually turned into a few months. And then I was like, cool, but doing it for 3 months is acceptable because pandemic and trauma and craziness. And then after 3 months, it was like, okay, girl, get your act together now. Like, get off the couch. Your posture is struggling. You've put on some kilos. Like, not that those are inherently bad things, but like all together, my skin was breaking out more because I was just eating trash. I was feeling mentally unhealthy. I'd stopped going for a walk every day simply because I just wasn't in the habit, and I'm still not. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't go yesterday because my excuse was like, oh, I've got to self-isolate because of my COVID test. But I could have gone in the morning, could have gone for a walk before I got COVID tested. Although I think that is slightly irresponsible to be like, I know that the minute I get tested, I have to go straight home and isolate until I get my results. That's kind of shitty to be like, oh, I'm going to go get tested. So before that, I'm just going to go to the shops and pick up the last errands that I need in case for the next 3 days I have to be at home. That's kind of shitty. So yeah, I shouldn't have gone yesterday morning knowing I was going to go get tested, and I didn't. But it wasn't for that reason. It was just because I was lazy. It's both reasons. I am lazy, and also I'm trying not to be a dick as much as possible in this time. I really do feel like I'm doing a lot of like filtering work, I guess. Like, I feel like a lot of things that are coming in are feeling very negative. That's like a lot of the news, like a lot of interactions that I'm having. I don't know. They're just like, they're not negative or they're nothingy. They're just kind of like very like, I don't know, with mum, it's like, what's happening for dinner? Like, it's not like an overly positive interaction. It's just like a quite nothing mid-level interaction. And a lot of the news is really negative, and I'm not really like speaking to many people on a regular basis. So I'm feeling like a lot of, I don't know. And then all of my personal work is feeling like I'm not really getting anywhere. There's a lot of negativity that I feel like is coming in, trying to do so much filtering work so that what I put out into the world is positive. A lot of that was me just like not recording a podcast for like 3.5 months. And I don't just mean recently, I mean in the past. It's like a long process. You know, obviously I started being really negative. I had to stop that. I had to realize why that was happening. And then now I'm kind of trying to come out of that. And it is a lot of work, and it's a slow process of recognizing it and filtering it and changing your behavior. But I feel like I'm doing an okay job of it now. I feel like I'm doing an okay job of just like texting my friends back within a reasonable time frame and being positive about the way that I interact with the world. And like, yes, there are assholes out there who, I think I said this in my last podcast, but got on an escalator behind me and coughed. Oh my God, how could you do that? And I thought that might be why I got sick, because I'm sick with something. It's just not COVID. So I somehow got a flu or a cold, but it's not COVID. And I that feels really lucky. I don't know how. And I was like, maybe it was the man that coughed on me in the shopping center. But the timing is it was too long ago that happened. But still, I'm just like trying, like, that's obviously really shitty, but I'm just trying to be like, you know what? Maybe he's doing the right, maybe he was really trying. Maybe he was trying to hold it in. Maybe he was coming to the shops to buy masks, and that's why he wasn't wearing one. Never know. If there is anybody that should be really treated like shit during a pandemic, it is the stranger that coughs on you. But I'm just trying to be more positive, and it's really hard. And man, I fail every day at it. I'm negative every single day. I cry almost every single day. I'm really like, it is a daily, hourly struggle to be positive, but I'm just like, I don't know if you can hear me punching my fist into my own palm, but it's like, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna be so aggressively positive. Urgh. I'm really just gonna like crush being positive. Urgh. Yeah. And I think probably the start of that is to firstly color my hair, because that'll make me feel fun. Even though it's probably going to be a negative experience to get there. And then the second thing would be actually to keep exercise, like go exercise, even if it's just a walk every day. I'm not prepared to go back to my exercise classes yet still. This is the beginning of the second term since they've opened back up. So it's been 8 weeks and now we're at the beginning of another 8 weeks. And I'm just like, if I got a cold from going to Woolworths twice, Macca's drive-through probably like 10 times, and actual Westfields like 3 or 4 times in the past 3 weeks, you know what I mean? Like, I got a cold from that. I'm not going to go in a room where we're all sweating and breathing heavily with each other. Like, absolutely not. So, especially when it's like one suburb away from a hotspot. Not going to happen, love. Oh my God, these pearls. I've decided that I have a bone to pick with interior designers. And I don't know if it's like real interior designers who do this or like Instagram interior designers. And I'm not really sure there's a difference, because then at some point you're going to say to me, Hannah, are you a real podcaster? And it's like, well, I'm doing it. So like, what does it matter if it's, I don't know, at what level do you become like a real version of something as opposed to just like an Instagram version of something? I'm not sure if it's a real thing or like a fad with the kids, because I'm slightly too old to be like down with the kids these days. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's popular. But interior designers who style a bookshelf, firstly, kind of wasting space. I'm going to need a lot more storage tubs in like the bottom 3 shelves before we start doing the like stylish vase and plants and paintings shit, which looks lovely. And I goddamn want a house that looks like that, obviously. But the problem that I have is on those bookshelves, because like blandness is in fashion right now, neutral tones. And I don't know if you know anything about me, but I fucking hate neutral tones in interior design. Like, I have brightly colored everything. The chair I'm sitting in used to have a giant fan palm print bright green cover on it. I only took it off because I had to wash it, and the minute I have to wash these, that's coming back on. I have a bright pink wall. Everything in this room is like blue, teal, pink. I've started incorporating bright yellow as well. Like, I'm really all about bright colors in my interior design. So the fact that like neutral tones and like hand woven baskets and like wicker and cane are all in fashion is very like, stop it, be more interesting. And my specific gripe with interior designers is when they style a bookshelf with books, but to make them more uniform and more in the style, they turn the books backwards. So you just see the pages and not the spine of the book that tells you actually what the fuck it is. And I just think that that's so it's like the gentrification of interior design. It's like a way to take all of the life and spontaneity and culture and funness and good things out of having books on a bookshelf and turn it into the most boring, bland, cookie cutter consumerist bullshit. It just, I don't even know if that's what a true analogy for gentrification. At some point we got lost in the middle there. But what I'm saying is, if you can have books on your bookshelf, show the spines. You know what? If you want them to look gorgeous, organize them by color. I don't give a shit. I have some of my books organized by color. That's fine. Or like have them in different rooms based on what color is in that room. But at a certain point, like if you're going to have books in your life and in your house, you just have to understand that not everything is going to perfectly fit your color palette, and the functionality of a bookcase and not using it to know what those books are is the dumbest time wasting thing ever. And it just proves that like you don't even want those books, like you don't even care about those books. And I know that like now people are doing a thing where they're just buying secondhand books from a bookstore that they don't care about and are never going to read, that just look good on the bookshelf. But then I'm like, just get it. I don't know, just use something else. Like other stuff is for interior design. That's still a book. that somebody else might have wanted to pay $1.50 for at a secondhand store. Just let them buy that as a book. Like, books have value beyond them being a decoration for you. And I say this as somebody who buys so many books and reads almost none of them. Like, I get it. What I'm saying is dumb because I'm not doing it. But also, what you're doing with books on a bookshelf is dumb. So stop it. I don't like it. I think it's ugly. I just think it's boring. Like, show me what books you like so I can judge you based on them. I guess that's the real thing of it, isn't it? I just want to judge people on the books that they have. And if their spines are turned away and I can't see what those books are, I can't judge them and put them into a pigeonhole box. Because I want to be the one that's special, not them. So get effed. I think maybe the high sugar content of my at-home bubble tea is too sweet. This burns my throat. And I don't think that the sweetness is helping the fact that I'm sick. I think it's like corroding my skin and on the inside of my throat and leaving it more susceptible to diseases. I don't know if that's a real thing, but I've decided that it is because my throat is sore and it's partly from being sick and partly from just like pure fructose coating my mouth. But I think genuinely I need to stop drinking them just to like stop with the sugar. Keep being like, I need to stop eating sugar. And I decide I'm going to, and then 2 days later, I'm like, oh my God, I've just had McDonald's. What did I do? I was supposed to not be eating sugar. Or like, oh my God, I just had my body weight in chocolate that's been sitting in the cupboard. Why did I do that? Or I've just had 7 spoonfuls of fructose in an iced tea that I made. It's a real problem. I don't know. Stress equals sugar addiction. Isn't sugar more addictive than cocaine? Is that a thing? Is sugar more addictive than cocaine? Don't know. That ask a doctor. So I've been having a real struggle with sexuality. Actually, that's a lie. I don't really feel like I've been having struggle with sexuality. I've been thinking about it a lot as sort of like, I get a bit frustrated that I signed up for a few like guilds and groups and unions and I don't know, whatevers. I got memberships for a few things related to the film industry, and quite a few of them, when you sign up, are like, are you part of any of these groups? And they ask like Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, other person of colour, LGBTQIA plus community, disabled, other things. And it's like a checkbox. And it's like, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. You can tick a box that says like, prefer not to say. Or, that's weird. I don't know who would, if they're none of those, I don't know who would tick prefer not to say. Because for me, prefer not to say is, I am one of them, but I'm not telling you it. But I kind of don't like that I don't like that. I always tick them. I am always honest because like whichever they've got, I tick whatever's appropriate. And I like, I'm not interested in like not telling the truth, but I don't always see how all of them are relevant to every group. And certainly some groups when you sign up don't ask you because it isn't necessarily relevant because they're not like handing out scholarships and are trying to then be like inclusive and diverse. So it's not really relevant and anyone can sign up. But some of them are specifically like, this is a group for women. So we kind of need to make sure that it is a safe space for women and it's not being infiltrated by people who have like some negative ideas about what should be going on in here. But I have this real issue around like being open and honest about every aspect of who you are. And for me specifically, the only one of those that is relevant is that I am bisexual. And it's not, I mean, it's something that I kind of like list off when I talk about myself and who I am. But it's not really something that I talk about a lot because in the past, people have been not super kind about it from both the straight and lesbian community, which is fine. Like, biphobia is real and like whatever. I'm really not like that much of a victim of it because I don't talk about it a lot. It is real and I definitely think that it is a problem within the queer community as well as the straight community, but I'm like not really interested in talking about that. I'd rather people who are more educated and more experienced in those spaces do those conversations. I'm happy to step back and say like, I'm not the person to have that voice. And because of that, part of me is like, well, then why do I even need to mention it? Am I then just ticking a diversity box as a way of being like, yeah, but I'm not just like a straight middle-class woman. Like I'm underprivileged in a very specific way, but like I'm not really because of it. So sometimes it feels a little bit disingenuous to tick that box as if, I don't know, as if, because it isn't relevant. It's it is relevant to the type of films I make. I tend to write stories about queer women exclusively, and I don't know why that is. I always start with some different idea and then it just turns into like a gay romance. And when I say gay there, I mean gay women. But yeah, I don't know, like it's relevant to the stories I'm telling. So then part of me is like, well, then I have to say I'm part of this group, because that adds validity to like, why are you telling this story? But also part of me is like, but I don't want to have to tell people for them to take that story seriously. I want it to be a good script or a good story on its own. It's almost like saying, because, okay, here's the thing. Here's why I have a problem with it. Because, sure, that's fine. I'll tell people I'm bi, so that they'll be like, okay, you're now allowed to write a story about a woman loving woman. That's fine. Great. Wonderful. Then comes the problem of a writer telling a story about like sexual assault. And then at what point are we going to be like, cool, tell me the specific details of all of your personal sexual traumas before we take this story as if it's valid? Like, that's absolutely not okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's any story about any kind of like trauma. You shouldn't have to see people's like, see the receipts to prove that they are a valid voice on that topic. And I'm starting to feel that way a little bit about certain topics. It's really for me quite a dicey subject, because I'm so much like aware of that part of the film industry where you obviously want to make sure that the stories that are being told are coming from an authentic place, and specifically a lot of the stories that we haven't heard before, from people of color and from marginalized groups. You want to be making sure that those stories are told authentically, and they're told with care and with knowledge and with experience behind them, because otherwise it is just another, colonization or gentrification of those stories. And so you want to avoid that for sure. But then it's like, well, where's the line? Where is the line? And at what point are we asking people for not just like a demographic tick box, but also like experiential, cool, yes, are you gay or straight? ? Or are you in the queer community? Yes or no? And further to that, have you been persecuted for being in the queer community? Because like, if we're getting to a point where we're choosing between 2 or 3 scripts, or we're giving a scholarship between 2 or 3 people, and we want to make sure we give it to the most quote unquote deserving person, which really means the most underprivileged person, the person who can't get to it any other way, which is a valid reason to give someone a scholarship or funding, or to give a story that is so outside of this box that's been painted for us by like quote unquote Hollywood. Yes, that is a valid thing to do. But at what point it's like we're now splitting hairs between 2 or 3 people who are demographically very similar. And so how are we then going to decide between them? Because at a certain point, the actual quality of the work becomes irrelevant, and it becomes about the story you're telling, because you can bring in people to script edit and story develop, and it's less than about, is this writer the best writer, and more, is this story the one that needs to be told in the current media landscape? And then the validity and authenticity of that. So I've been having a real problem with that, and thinking about like coming out to people, like when you first meet them, when do you come out to them, and like dating because of that, and like at what point do you say to someone that you're like in a relationship with, like, oh, by the way, yes, I'm dating you, but I am also attracted to other genders, like what? And at what point, I think it's different, like as a woman, if I was dating a woman and I said that to her, I think it's a very different experience than if I was dating a man and I said that to him. I don't know, there's no way to know how an individual would react, but I think that you can also assume a little bit about, as a gender, what you've been kind of told about how you should interact in a relationship, and what you are owed, and what you should put up with or not put up with, blah, blah, blah. Thanks again, Hollywood, and specifically rom-coms. But like, it's actually not relevant to so much of what I do in my life. It's more relevant to the types of stories that I tell and the ways that I interact with people that I'm a woman than it is that I am part of the queer community. Simply because that is definitely much more obvious. And so therefore that is the way that people have treated me, and ways that, people of all genders have treated me because I'm a woman, in both good and bad ways. But that affects me more than the fact that I'm part of the queer community. So why do I have to say that to you as if as if that somehow changes how I'm moving through the world, which for a lot of people it definitely does. But for me, it doesn't. So like, I'm not going to lie on a form, but I don't think it's relevant. And then also just like, I don't believe that coming out is a thing. I'm putting it out there. I don't think that anyone should have to feel as though they have to come out as queer. I understand why people do, and I think that it can be a really, really reaffirming experience to blatantly state in a quite heteronormative world, I am not that. So I'm not saying no one should do it. I think definitely there is a lot of validity in that experience. But I also think that there is like a kind of in the queer community sort of like, oh, have you come out yet? And it's like, well, like what would I be doing differently in my life if I were out? Why do I need to tell like my teachers and my friends and like my second cousins who I never speak to, like what I'm into in the bedroom? Like, it's not relevant to you. It's like being on a phone call with someone and being like, oh, by the way, before we get into this phone call, I just need to let you know I'm a redhead. People are like, okay, how is that fucking relevant to the, like what, like we're talking about your finances. How is you being a redhead relevant? It's not at all. And I feel like that's the same, like, hi, I'm wanting to be a part of your organization. Why do you care who I sleep with or want to sleep with? Like, you know, like it doesn't matter. I understand very much that definitely does matter. And I'm not saying take away those checkboxes because I do think they're important. But what I'm saying is, I don't know, I'm just like, I'm in a space where I'm like, I'm bi, but I like don't feel the need to tell anybody. But maybe that's because I'm actually terrified that I'm going to be treated differently because of it. You know, because the last few times that I've been quite open and honest and out about it, people have been not nice. And maybe that's actually what's happening here, is I'm trying to rationalize the fact that I'm afraid of biphobia from both the queer community, which I don't feel like I'm a part of, and also the straight community, which I don't feel like I'm a part of. So, But then if you are, as I am, a sad girl online, TM, if you spend a lot of time on Twitter and follow a lot of bisexual accounts and all of the like memes about, you know, bisexuals and what they are, basically it's like bisexuals are just attracted to every single woman that they meet and they'll settle for one man. And I'm kind of like, no, that's not my experience of it. And that's the only kind of like meme that there is. And it's like bisexuals just wear flannels and Doc Martens. And I'm like, I own all those clothes, trust me. But that's because I'm an emo kid, not because I'm bi. And maybe they're related, I don't know, like countercultures, subcultures, an alternative kind of lifestyle. Maybe they're related, I don't know. But I don't wear my Doc Martens. I don't know, it's like bi girls wear Vans, straight girls wear Converse. And I'm like, I don't like how Vans rub at my heel because I have a weirdly protruding heel and Vans have that like padding. I don't know, man, like every meme about the bi community, and I know that memes aren't real, but they are based on stereotypes, but I'm just like, I don't feel like a part of that either. I don't feel like I'm a part of any of those communities, which is fine because like, again, do I need to feel like part of a community if it's between me and a person I meet in a bar, or me and a person I meet on Tinder, or me and someone who I've had a crush on for 10 years who doesn't love me back? You know what I mean? Like, does it matter if I feel like a part of a community when really all you're looking for is like one other person to spend your life with? Is that, maybe I'm just sad and lonely. Maybe I just need to find a partner. See, I just then almost said a boyfriend. Maybe I need to find a boyfriend. Even in a conversation about how I'm bi, I default to talking about exclusively male partners because I actually fucking hate the conversation that happens when I'm in public and I say something that quite obviously lets out that I'm attracted to women, and people just don't handle that well. Women don't like hearing that you might be attracted to them because they suddenly feel like a sexual object, which, like, fair play, because that's how a lot of media treats them and a lot of men replicate that in real life. So finding out that anyone is attracted to you, regardless of their gender, makes you suddenly feel like, oh my God, or has the potential to be attracted to you, makes you feel very like put on the spot as a woman. I totally get that. Men are gonna be like, oh cool, you're like that porn I watched. And you're just like, no, absolutely not. I don't exist for your pleasure. Stop messaging me on Tinder asking for a threesome with your partner. It's not going to happen. I'm not interested in that. I want one person. I don't care what gender they are, but I just want one of them. So maybe that is part of it, is like, it's kind of seen as a sexual fetish, I think. And I'm just like, I'm just a person who just wants to like give a lot of my love to another person. And like, honestly, I think I got a lot of love inside me to give, that kind of isn't really going anywhere right now. Like, not even into myself or into my own projects. Like, I'm not doing a lot of self-love, and I think I just want to like make other people feel happy, and I'm not really sure how to do that. And that's like in a further than just a romantic sense. Like, I would love to make someone happy in a romantic sense, but like, that's probably not really my priority. I just don't know how to do it on a larger scale, you know? I hope that this has made someone happy. I don't know, it didn't make me unhappy. It felt pretty positive to sit here and have a chat about some things, and none of them be me crying. That felt really good. I hope you enjoyed at least part of this. As I said, whatever platform you are engaging with this on, give it a like, subscribe, thumbs, follow, review, star, rate, share thing. Whatever you want to do with it, I'll let you do with it. You know, all of those forms of interaction with this podcast are now and henceforth consensual. So go ahead and click some of them buttons. And, you know, hopefully I'll have some fresh thoughts for next time. And you're a babe, and keep on keeping on, and I love you and miss you, and speak to you guys soon. Bye!